Okay, in this lecture we're going to be talking about printing, and in the modern era we do a lot less printing. These days everything is kind of gone paperless. A lot of sharing on the cloud, but every once in a while you still need to print something out to share it with someone or print a report. So I'm going to just give you the basics of printing so you know how to do that. So let's say you have a little spreadsheet that you've created and you need to go ahead and print the basic way to print is to go up to File and go down here to Print, and it's going to give you a bunch of options here. And it's also going to show you a really nice print preview here, which makes it really easy to see how it's going to turn out. So as you can see, this kind of has our spreadsheet just tucked up in the corner of this 8.5 by 11 sheet. And then the settings here, you can change a lot of the options to make it print however you want. The first option here is to print the active sheets, which is what we have here. We have one sheet active. You can print the entire workbook, which would be all of the worksheets in that workbook. So if I had 3 different worksheets with different spreadsheets on each one, it would print the entire thing. Or you can print out just a selected area. You could play at the margins to give more or less white space around your spreadsheet, and then you can scale it to fit the page in different ways. So in this example where we have a horizontal orientation to our spreadsheet, one option would be to change this from portrait orientation to landscape orientation. And you can see it already fits a little bit better. But then we can go into our scaling and we can go to custom scale. And it allows us to adjust the size, so we can either type in a number here or we can just click on the scrolling. So let's go to 170% of normal size and click OK. And now you'll see it's expanded it a lot better to fit into that space. And you'll also notice that it's still justified over to the left side, so we have extra space on the right here. So what we can do is adjust our margins as well by going to custom margins, and we can make the spacing larger or smaller on the sides by adjusting the left and right margins. You can do the same with the bottom or the top. But what we're going to do is change the centering, so we're going to center this horizontally by clicking that button, and then we're just going to click OK, and you'll see it brings it over nicely into the center. Then when you have everything set up the way you want it to, you can go over to here and you can select your printer. Then once you have the printer that you want, you can select the number of copies that you want and go and click on the print button. Now let's take a look at another example that has additional data, and I'll show you how to arrange that on the page. So you can see in this example we have our spreadsheet, but we also have a pie chart over here, and if we go to our print preview by going to File and Print, or alternately you can click Ctrl P for print. You can see now that in our portrait orientation it's cutting off most of the chart, so to prevent this from getting cut off, we have a couple of options. One option is to change this to landscape orientation, and you can see that's better, but it's still cutting off some of the wording over to the right. So we could then either go to our margins, and right now we're set at normal margins, but we could change it to narrow margins, which just basically makes the spacing around our information smaller. So I'll try that, and you can see that brings it in a little bit, but it's still coming off the edge just a bit. So now we can go to scaling. We can go to fit on one page, and when we do that you'll see it shrunk it down to fit. So now we have everything on there. Or we could even customize it, so you can see it shrunk it to 92%, but we could try and get it even closer and go say 95% of normal size and click OK. You see that still fits. Now of course we can also center it if we like, but custom scaling options, margins and center horizontally could be okay, and that looks a little better, but we still have quite a bit of white space from the actual shape of the pie chart here. And so we can go in and we can adjust the margins, and we can just take the right margin out and we can increase the left margin, click OK. And that's going to shift it over some more. We'll even do that a little bit more. And now we're looking more centered. Now another option, if we wanted these 2 items printed on different pages, is that we can reset our margins to normal and we're on center. Our data will go to no scaling. So we're basically pulling everything back, and now we can essentially change the scaling to make this piece large enough to fit on one page. And then this piece would automatically flow to another page, and you can do that by going here doing custom scaling. But there's an easier way by going back here to our main screen. And if you go to the View tab up on top where normal view right now, you can go to Page Break View. You can grab any of the edges of your print area and drag them and change them. So you see this is showing page 1 and this is showing page 2. And if you want to see underneath the chart here. But if I grab this bar and drag it over to here, I'll move this chart and see what it says. So we have page 1 on the left and we have page 2 on the right. We'll just drop that Go Undo so it goes back to where it belongs. So now we have our spreadsheet on page 1 and our chart on page 2, and make sure you click off of the chart. Otherwise it'll only print the chart. So we'll go take a look at that in the print preview. So now it shows our table on page 1 in our chart on page 2. And of course we want this to fit better. We can just go to our scaling, custom scaling, and increase the size of our image. Okay. Take a look at both of them, make sure they fit alright. And then we can go in and go to margins and say center horizontally. We could even say center vertically. If we want to show right in the middle of the page, and there you go. So those are some basics on adjusting your page layout and getting your spreadsheets printed.